It's draft day. The rumors say that every player on the Utah Jazz is available. The storyline is the Jazz are leveling up. Is it really possible? And where do we go at 5 and 21? A massive show is next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 pow.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, and it's draft day! Woohoo! I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps and on YouTube. To the everydayers, you're the greatest. Thank you very much for being with me for this whole draft thing. If you're here today because it's draft day and you want to catch up on all the latest rumors and stuff, I'm going to try to cover both the desires of those who've been covering this every single day with me and those that are new today. We'll try to get that done. There's a ton of news out there. There's a million rumors. There's a bunch of things to get across. I can't decide where to start the show because there's everything. The biggest rumor out there, the biggest story is the Jazz have everybody available. And it makes sense. It makes sense. Austin Ainge is not tied to anyone. Austin Ainge is the decision maker. There really is a scenario where every single player on the Jazz roster should and can be available. And honestly, I don't think it's that big a deal to say that because, frankly, I think every single player is available on every team right now other than maybe Victor Wembanyama and maybe Nikola Jokic. Though yesterday, Josh Kroenke decided to mention trading in a press conference unprompted, the idea of trading Nikola Jokic. So literally, the idea that everyone's available, I think, is a little overblown, but I think the messaging is clear. The messaging is the Jazz are open for business. The Jazz are looking to move forward. Level up, right, is the phrase. That the Jazz are leveling up and that here we go. And Austin Ainge is there. And then there was the comment about manipulating roster and tanking, and we're not doing that anymore. And that's where we are today with this excitement heading forward. Can I caution this slightly? I don't want to be the downer on draft day. It's still, we're going to get a player that in all likelihood in 5 years is our best player today. And hopefully we're going to get another rotation player. Maybe we're going to make 2 trades or something. I mean, it's going to be a crazy day. So, but I just want to caution one thing here. I've heard the Brian Windhorst, we're leveling up. I was in the press conference when Austin Ainge said we're not doing the roster manipulation. I've read all of this stuff. I can't find the path. I'm not saying that's not the intention, but I can't find the path. I know who's available. I read the stories. I talk to people in the league. I got it. I can't find the path that dramatically changes where we are today as a franchise, 29th in the power rankings in the NBA, to 14th or 10th or 7th. I can't find that path. If Austin Ainge can find it, go Austin Ainge. But in all honesty, as I look through this, if you can't find me, let's make sure we understand this next comment. If you cannot find me the path by which the Utah Jazz become a top 15 team, certain, then I want that draft pick next year. It is not worth becoming the 20th best team in the NBA or the 18th best team in the NBA or the 16th best team in the NBA and giving Oklahoma City the draft pick. If we can get ourselves so that we're in the upper half of the league, now we're drafting 17th or 20th, and there's enough moves to do that, and the opportunity's there, and you're getting there, and it's the building blocks that you're going to build upon, and you have your future picks to build on top of that, then yes, maybe under that circumstance, we can bypass the draft pick next year that's a major building block to this franchise in a great draft. But if you cannot do that, it is negligent to the building of the future of this franchise to lose a top pick. So yes, everyone's available. Yes, we're not tanking. Yes, the Jazz are leveling up. The route to me, you still got to be able to go to like Google Maps and be able to plug in top 15 team to get there. I can't find it. If Austin Ainge can find it, that's awesome. But me, with my knowledge of the NBA and looking at where it is, I don't want false hope on your end. I think the chances are we make some major roster changes. We draft a player at 5. We get a player at 21. We maybe acquire a few other pieces here along the way. And next year is still a year of developing talent and trying to get the pieces. The truth of the matter is we've added Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks, Isaiah Collier, Bryce Sensabaugh, Kyle Filipowski, and Cody Williams. 6 young players. The goal going into the season was to know more about those 6. The only one we learned about, in my opinion, was Walker. We learned that Walker was a rotation player in the NBA. We learned that Bryce Sensabaugh, in fact, can shoot, which we kind of knew. But I don't think we know on any of those 6 yet what they are, how they fit, what their role will be when we're good, which makes it virtually impossible to get to that 15 unless those are the pieces you're moving and there's some massive piece back. Okay, that's number 1. This show has got just a ton of stuff to it. Number 2 headline. If the Jazz believe Ace Bailey is the right pick at number 5, they will take him. That's what I understand. If the Jazz believe that Ace Bailey is the correct pick at 5 and he is on the board, regardless of whether he worked out for them, ignoring all the stuff that's surrounding him, his representation, Mr. Cooper, and his track record of God only knows selling cocaine on a school campus, according to the New Jersey Star Ledger today, and other things, they will take him. Not Ace Bailey, his representation. If the Jazz believe that Ace Bailey is the right pick at 5, they will take him. He is not off their board. Okay, so that's major news right there. When it comes to 5, if Bailey's there and they think he's the best player, they'll take him. Flag's going 1. All indications are Harper's going 2, but the Spurs are clandestine, and it still, to me, do not close the door on the Spurs trading that pick in some capacity if they get Giannis, frankly, on the fact that De'Aaron Fox, Stephen Cancel, and Dylan Harper don't really fit together. So don't be surprised if the Spurs are dealing. Philadelphia's at 3. I still think the Ace Bailey at 3 is real, but more and more talks yesterday that it's not, and VJ Edgecombe goes in that spot, the Baylor kid. 4 is Charlotte. This is interesting because most of the major mock drafts have Jeremiah Fears going to the Jazz at 5, and I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. Okay? I know they worked him out twice according to reports, but I still don't believe it. Most of the mock drafts have Kon Knueppel going 4 to Charlotte. Okay, well, if I don't believe 5 with the Jazz, maybe I shouldn't believe 4 with Knueppel. I think there's a lot of unknown here on these drafts. The word on Knueppel's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to turn out, I think he's going to be a fine player, but I don't see some of the stuff that everyone else is talking about. People are in love with the fact that he plays off 2 feet. People are comparing him to, he's a legit 6'7". So people are comparing him to Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic light. That his ability to play off the bounce, dribble, get in the paint, play off 2 feet, see it. His processing speed is being praised universally. I watched the North Carolina game. He dribbles in the paint 3 times. He gets it stripped every time. I watch him jump stop in the paint, come to, pump fake. I don't think that shot gets off in the NBA. Talking to scouts who know much more than me, they believe he'll process, he'll understand, he'll figure it out. People are very high on Kon Knueppel. Very, very high. I did not see a multiple. Nate Duncan in Dunked On podcast loves Kon Knueppel's handle. Loved it. Nate did great work this week. And I listened to like 8 hours of Nate Duncan in the last like week. It's crazy. Okay. He loves his handle. I didn't see that as much. I'm probably willing to kind of concede that he's probably right and I'm probably wrong. Because the other one on Knueppel that is just a minor issue to me. He's 20 years old. Like, he's old. He's a year and a half older than some of the other freshmen. He had 4 dunks all of last year. He's a legit 220. He's Dylan Brooks' size. He literally, if you go into, there's a little thing that you can play where you put everyone's measurements in and you get their measurements back. He literally comes out as Dylan Brooks at the combine, the exact same size. I don't think he's a bad defensive player. There were some interesting comps on Kon Knueppel. Some people are talking Desmond Bane. I think that's interesting. I think it was Nate that said Buddy Hield. I think that's interesting. There are 3 things about him that concern me, and there's some things about him that are great. We'll break that down. We'll break down Ace Bailey. We'll break down Trey Johnson, and we'll break down Jeremiah Fears next, because the Jazz will be deciding between those 4 or those that are left with the 5th pick of the draft. It's next on Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by my friends over at Intercap Lending. That's Steve Carter. Steve, if you're new to the show, we have had a relationship with Intercap Lending and our own personal loan officer, Steve Carter, for 7 years now. There's 2 local sponsors on Locked On Jazz. They have both been with us for 7 years. And the reason we don't have more, I have an open spot. I could have one right now if I wanted one. The reason we don't have more is because I only want sponsors that are going to be tied to us for a long time that I've worked with myself. And I have done 2 loans with Steve Carter. My COO has done 2 loans with Steve Carter. Locked On people have gone to Steve Carter. He's our own personal loan officer at Intercap. He's absolutely amazing. Intercap is a mortgage company that's shaking up, making home loans accessible, straightforward, and personal. Whether you're buying your first home, refinancing, or exploring options, and we have our own personal loan officer, Steve Carter. He is a dedicated, unbelievable customer service. The reviews are amazing. So if you are in the market right now to get a loan, buying a new house, doing something, maybe one of those amazing new developments like Candlelight and all those places out in Utah County, then give me an email at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com so that we can get you hooked up with Steve Carter over at Intercap Lending and get you the VIP treatment that you deserve as a member of the Locked On community with Steve Carter over at Intercap. Today's show is also brought to you by Open Phone. Open Phone is, as I've said multiple times, the company I wish I knew existed when we built Locked On. If you're running a business and small business, you don't have someone managing your calls. You can't afford to miss calls. If someone doesn't get you, they go to somebody else. So Open Phone is what you need. It's the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or your computer. Open Phone lets me manage business calls, texts from a single app, shared inbox, AI agent. They've got it all for you. So here's the deal. Open Phone is offering 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone, OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA. If you have existing numbers from another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Open Phone. I don't know how long many of you have followed my career, but this is going to come off wrong. So draft day is like my favorite day. I'm just going to, I think if you actually go back and if you followed me in the 90s, when I first started my career, I actually was like, this was my day. Like, I was the #1 newsbreaker in the country from probably 92 to 2000 on the draft. Had incredible sources, great information, nailed it, buried the draft, not there anymore. And there's other people to do it now. So it's, this is a fun day for me. Super fun. All right. So the Jazz, it sounds unlikely that VJ Edgecombe's getting the Jazz, which means the Jazz will have a decision about Trey Johnson, who's a shooting guard out of Texas. I'll give you a breakdown on all of them here in a second. Ace Bailey, who's become the mercurial 6'8" wing player out of Rutgers. Kon Knueppel, the freshman out of Duke that we just talked about. And Jeremiah Fears, the small point guard out of Oklahoma. He's not that small. 6'2", point guard, pure point guard. Okay. Let's break down each of them. One of them will not be on the board. Okay. So of those 4 players, one of them is going to be guaranteed to be off the board. Unless something surprising happens, and 2 of them are, then VJ Edgecombe comes to the Jazz. But I don't think that sounds likely right now. So of those 4 players, Johnson, Bailey, Knueppel, and Fears, 3 of them are going to be there for a choice. Trey Johnson is the bona fide scorer. Elite level shooting and shot making. Played at Texas. Young. Freshman. Was the number 1 player on the scout every single game. And impressed me. I'm a fan. The criticism of Trey Johnson is he does nothing other than score. He doesn't rebound at all. He doesn't play a lot of defense. Now, he took bad shots. I could care less about that. He was the only player in Texas who can play. Texas, amazingly, has only one other guy that will probably sniff Summer League this year. There's another guy on that roster might get an NBA minute over time. He kind of reminds me of the Utah State kid who's at Boston. Big guy. But he's not like, they don't have any other pros on their whole roster. He became their best player the day he walked on, dropped 20-plus points, and shot it from everywhere. He can shoot it off the bounce. He can catch and shoot. He can play off the move. And he's got relentless energy on the offensive end. He's a really good scorer. I believe he will score 20 to 25 points a game in the NBA. I'm a fan. Their next choice is Ace Bailey. Ignore the noise. Ignore the noise. Ignore the workouts. Ignore the other stuff. Ignore the noise. You're drafting a player you've been watching for 5 years at this point. He was the number 1 or 2 prospect in the country at one point. He went to Rutgers, worked there by this guy. It's Sharif Cooper's dad, is his agent. He's been kind of in control of Ace Bailey for a while. The word on Bailey, I thought, was said best by Sam Vicente in The Athletic. Everyone's comments about him right now are that he is a good kid, joyous to be around, maybe immature. The comment in Sam Vicente's write-up of Ace Bailey, he has a lot of infectious energy. He's a bit immature. He can struggle with focus. Those are the young, youthful criticisms of him. You better figure out why those are happening, what the reason is. But the fact of the matter is, the kid's 6'8". He's a young 18-year-old kid. He can shoot it and make shots. It is hard to find 6'8" kids who can make shots. And I believe Ace Bailey can have a defensive impact. Quite frankly, if Taylor Hendricks and Ace Bailey come together, it's a pretty good 6'8", 6'9" wing for 2 young players you have there. The Jazz will take Ace Bailey at 5 if he's on the board and he's the player they want. They will not. He is on their board. We just talked Kon Knueppel. Okay, so on Bailey, he's got an 8'11" standing reach. He's got a 7'1" wingspan. The numbers are all incredible. Okay? His body is Taylor Hendricks and Peyton Watson's, which comes up when you do the little NBA draft tool. This is a kid who scored 32 points a game in high school, came to college, tried to be the exact same player, and shot all the time on a crappy team, and frankly got worse as the year went on because Dylan Harper got hurt. Dylan Harper, I thought, took the year off last year. The negatives on Ace Bailey are all the noise. The 69% free throw shooting. Whether or not his game, there's a little concern that his game, the college game that he played, he was so dominant that it doesn't parlay out in this level. But he did make 35% of his threes, taking fairly not very good shots, frankly. And had some monster days. His Big Ten numbers are he only shot 34% in the Big Ten. And as the year went on, he got less good. Here's what's interesting about Ace Bailey that is the big red flag to me. In the final 11 games of his college career, he hit only 7 of 39 from 3. And he shot 40% from the floor and 17% from 3. Now, Dylan Harper shuts it down. Gets hurt at one point in time here in the season. And so you kind of have to go back and look at that and say, Dylan Harper doesn't play a period of time in there, and that maybe derails him. But I don't know if that's the case. That would be the one thing. Harper finishes up the season. He plays their final game in whatever tournament that was against USC. Conference tournament, because USC's conference. And so I don't know what happened to Bailey on the second half of the season. That's the red flag for me, because I don't care about the noise. I want to know why he suddenly stopped making shots and what went wrong in that time period. If you look at his January numbers, they're pretty good. It's the opening 9 games of the Big Ten season, and he's great. He drops 37 against Northwestern, 30 against Penn State, 39 against Indiana. He doesn't go over 20 again for the rest of the year. It's ugly. So there's the concern. I don't care about any of the noise. I want to know if he's a basketball player. Kon Knueppel. Those that love him talk about him like he's Jalen Brunson and like he's Luka Doncic light. And he's going to be able to play with the ball in his hands, and he's legit 6'7", and he can do all these things. Defensively, his numbers are actually not bad. The one thing that concerns me, I was going to say as we went to break, John Schrader, the Duke head coach, always put him on the worst offensive player every single game. North Carolina, he's guarding the guy who's averaging 4 points a game. Virginia Tech, he's guarding the guy that averaged 4 points a game. That's, to me, that's their coach telling you something. Watching him, I don't think he's that bad laterally. I didn't think he was horrendous defensively. Trey Johnson was far worse. I do think, I don't want, Grayson Allen's an interesting comp. Grayson Allen's a way better athlete, though. Way better athlete. But they both can really shoot it. Both came out of Duke. Desmond Bane's an interesting comp to me. Far more interesting than the Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson angle. And the concern is these Corey Kispert, who comes out as the worst defensive player in all of the NBA. Jeremiah Fears. His size is Kobe White of Chicago. His acceleration is incredible. His ball handling control is as good a handle as you'll see coming in the league. He did not make shots, and he does not finish at the rim, and he does not have a massive bounce. Those are my fears on Fears. When I watch Fears, there's a lot to like, and he'll make a play or two that kind of wows you. And his handle's amazing, and he's another one who reclassified. We're all in love with the fact that he reclassified. I have no idea whether that has any value or not. He shot 28% from 3 last year. If you dig into his rim numbers, they're not great. So he's comes to you, now he's 18, so there's a lot to evolve here. But he comes to you predominantly as a 18-year-old mid-range pull-up kind of player. Because his three-point shooting is 28.5%. His ability to play the pick and roll is terrific. His ability to get downhill is terrific. I don't know that I think he's totally going to finish these things. At the rim, he shot 53% last year in the 31st percentile. By the way, one note on Kon Knueppel, I don't know if you care. He had 2 dunks last year. To me, it's a little. Now, I'll go back to his comment that Will Hardy made. Will Hardy made, this is a hands league, not a foot league. We all, this time of year, get excited about guys jumping and flying and doing these things. It's a hands league. Kon Knueppel's hands are pretty good. Kon Knueppel, in contrast, by the way, at the rim last year, was 62.3%. And 63%. He's actually shot 6 better on layups than dunks. So that's the difference between he and Fears. Trey Johnson, people are criticizing because they don't think he gets to the basket enough. That might be true. There wasn't a lot of room there either, so I'm a little mixed on what I think about that. He can really shoot it. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be a pick between those four guys. And they're all on the board. What are the Jazz going to do at 21? Next on Locked on Jazz. Today's edition of Locked on Jazz Draft Day edition is brought to you by Wayfair. Wayfair, there has been a lot of Google searching of Wayfair in my house right now as we look to change some things up, add some things, do that. They're right, because Wayfair, there's nothing like adding to your outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped your own personal oasis. If you want to update your patio this season, Wayfair has made it easy to turn that space to feel like you're uncomfortable, stylish, and ready for summer. Wayfair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space. Conversation sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, super cool fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even perfect string lighting to set up the vibe. It's giving you the backyard resort feel you want at not a resort price tag. Go check it out at Wayfair. Wayfair's got outdoor dining sets, modern lounge chairs, free, fast, and totally hassle-free delivery. Now, with your hosting friends, unwinding with a book, your backyard is your personal retreat. Don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair. Enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now. Shop a huge outdoor selection. That's Wayfair, WAYFAR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Wayfair. What do the Jazz do at 21? This one's a little interesting to me as it's played out. Because if the Jazz draft Trey Johnson or Jeremiah Fears or even Kon Knueppel, does it take another guard off the table? Right? Are you suddenly... So I know the word is you take best player available. There are two really interesting old guards that are available here. Walter Clayton Jr. out of Florida is really interesting. Peaked out on some of our numbers. Nique Clifford out of Colorado State is really interesting. Walter Clayton Jr. is in the 88th percentile in spot up. He's in the 80th percentile in catch and shoot. He's in the 89th percentile in jumper off the dribble. Players who do those things very rarely miss. He's also in the 77th percentile in pick and roll ball handler, which we've kind of shown doesn't parlay, but he's in the 73rd percentile in transition, and he's in the 96th percentile in isolation. He peaks on the numbers. He's also 22, going up against 18-year-olds. That's why he peaks against the numbers. Nique Clifford, Colorado State, is the same thing. 95th percentile in isolation. His shooting numbers are not nearly as good, 42% and 71% in shooting, but off the bounce, he's in the 88th percentile. If the Jazz draft Trey Johnson, now Clayton's probably more of a point guard. Does it eliminate, does the pick at 5 change what they do at 21? And I think the answer, unfortunately, is yes. It just, like, if we draft Jeremiah Fears, I don't think you can draft Walter Clayton Jr. I'm not sure I actually know which one I think's better. Clayton Jr. is pretty good. So here's what's interesting on this. I do think if the Jazz draft Trey Johnson, Jeremiah Fears, or Kon Knueppel, it pushes them toward possibly going to a big at 21. I know that's kind of against all draft rules, but there's also a certain point here where if our guard line is Keontae George, Isaiah Collier, Bryce Sensabaugh, Trey Johnson, Walter Clayton Jr., like how does everybody play? That's trading Colin Sexton, and I probably forgot someone. I mean, that's literally right. That's our 5 young guys. That also, by the way, is getting our draft pick. And that's what I think is most likely. I know there's a lot of optimism right now that we're leveling up, but that seems to be hard for me. So let me bring up a few big guys. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. Behringer. He is 6'11", 236 pounds with a 7'3" wingspan. He's 18 years old. He's one of the youngest players in the draft. He is a late bloomer. He only started playing basketball in 2021. I had my take on this yesterday on Mal, which I don't love these guys that do not have the 10,000 hours. He's only played for 4 years. I think it's incredibly hard to learn in the NBA, but you may be taking a flyer at this point. He's a rim protector. He's got the measurables, and you're basically taking a talented teenager that you're going to develop over time. That's basically the take on him. He's not an offensive player. He plays interior. He only took 13 jump shots in the entire year last year, according to No Ceilings, and he made 2 of them. He also only had 8 post-ups the whole time and has one of the lowest usage rates of a big man ever. That is a pure project that you are gambling on. An interesting one is the French kid out of Stanford. Raymund, I think is how you pronounce it. Again, 7'1", 236. Wingspan is even, which isn't great. But he can dribble, pass, and shoot as a 7-footer. He has moved up the draft boards a lot, will probably be on the board at 21. He reminds me a little bit of Filipowski in the way he rebounds. He averaged 11 rebounds a game at Stanford last year while scoring 20 points and had a 28% defensive rebounding rate, which is really good. Now, again, 22 against 19-year-olds. He took 5.5 threes a game. He hits them at 35% and is a 77% free throw shooter, so it's not certain that that's going to translate. Very similar to Kyle in some of those numbers. But there aren't a lot of 7-footers that can do those things. And he can play 5 out, which I think is Will Hardy's preference, and I think is probably Austin Ainge's preference too. He is not vertically athletic. Channing Frye is probably a good comp on him. So those are 2 bigs I would think of. Another interesting player, Sarah Todd just wrote a big story about him, is the kid out of Washington State, Coward. Cedric Coward, 6'6", 7'3" wingspan, again 21, again older, grew up in Fresno, started at Willamette University in Oregon as Division III, was all Pac-12 swing. Again, 22 against young kids, went to Eastern Washington, then ended up at Washington State, and he's interesting. He shot 40% from 3 on 5 attempts, averaged 18 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He's 6'6", kind of burly guard. He only played 6 games last year. It's really this kind of like play that you're buying into some workouts and some look and not a lot of size and late development. And you're hoping that, like, you know, you steal and get a Jalen Wells, or you steal and get a, like, Jalen Williams would be the ultimate on him. Probably the best comp you can get on him is Ochai Agbaji, frankly. Like that type of body, that type of player on that. The other one I would just keep an eye on, he does not come out well on our numbers, but he's again, if you're kind of taking a flyer here at 21, we have a lot of young kids you're trying to hit, is Hugo Gonzalez, who's been playing at Real Madrid. He's 6'6", 207. He's 19 years old. He averaged 4 points and 2 rebounds. But sometimes these guys that are like, that's because he's playing with adults. He's been a pro since he's 12. Like, this guy's played forever. He's part of like the Spanish national thing. He's on their FIBA under-17 team. He's played their U18. He's all the hype. He's the next European star kind of player on the Spanish national team. Real Madrid is like the New York, you know, those are like, he played 10 minutes a game and he barely made shots. And he comes out terribly in all of our numbers. But you're kind of going off of your U18 numbers and some other things on him. He's pretty physical defender. He's been playing forever. He's got a pretty big bat. He's got a high energy. Everyone seems to be pleased with that. He has not shot it well. If you go through his whole career, he's a 27% three-point shooter. He did not shoot well in the 10 minutes a night in Real as well. You're going to have to figure that one out. He does not shoot off the bounce. He does not have a lot of self-creation. He's kind of a European slashing motor player, mover, 6'6" body. So I would keep an eye on those names at 21. Clayton Jr., Clifford, Gonzalez, Coward, Behringer, and Raymund. Keep an eye on those. We'll see how it all plays out. Do I think we're going to make trades? John Collins has to opt in on Thursday, make his decision. I would assume he's going to opt in on that contract. I would be surprised if the Jazz did an extension with John Collins. But maybe. Maybe if it's at a number that gives everyone optionality, it would make sense. All right. Let's wrap this up with some news, notes, and rumors. Igor Denim comes out terribly on our shooting numbers. I've talked to a bunch of people around the league who say his workouts were all good shooting, and if they were going to believe someone would defy the college numbers, it's Igor Denim. Boston has supposedly got Jaylen Brown and Derek White still available. Andrew Wiggins, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Marcus Smart, all names that are available, according to rumors. Keep an eye on the Kings. Keep an eye on the Jazz and the Kings. Different front office, but lots of conversations in the past. Lowry marketing conversations were there. Things were there. Keep an eye on the Jazz and the Kings. Keith Pompey of Locked On Sixers is reporting the Wizards are holding out at 6, that Ace Bailey's going to get to him. And there's a belief that they are kind of playing the same game they played with Alex Sarr last year, where Alex Sarr wouldn't go work out with Atlanta. Washington drafted him at 2. Washington, maybe Bailey's not willing to work out with him. Washington drafts him at 6. Bulls are a sneaky team to keep an eye on here from some people I talked to. Watch point guard movement. The other thing I got told from a bunch of people is the point guard free agency right now is Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, Malcolm Brogdon. The best available point guard is a non-point guard. He's Nickeil Alexander-Walker. We know him well. He's not really a point guard. He's a good player. Watch for point guard movement here. Have fun today. I'll be on live on Jazz Plus. I'll be doing shorts and updates throughout the day when I get stuff. It is Locked On Jazz. Have a great one. Talk to you soon. We send you now the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel, Locked On NBA. Check out Locked On NBA Big Board for the latest. Follow me on socials at DLock09.